But in your book, one of the standout stories, of course, is how you got the role of Stacey. And it was quite surprising, actually, wasn't it?
Well, yes, I just lost out, actually, on one of the biggest jobs, which I never, ever got. And I've got a cracking story about that. That's actually how I start the book. And where I end up taking myself off to the Savoy Hotel in floods of tears and think I'm never, ever going to act again. And then 2 weeks after that, I went back to work in a shoe shop, and I was in the shoe shop sorting through Crocs in the stock cupboard, which I love doing. I like being out back, don't want to be out front. And then my agent phoned and he said, "Darling, I'm sending you a script. It's a TV show about a Welsh girl who falls in love with a boy from Essex. I think it's quite funny. See what you think." And then I read it and just thought, oh my gosh, this is my life. It's my world. I know these people. And then took myself off to Spotlight in Leicester Square to the casting rooms, met Ruth Jones in the toilets and got chatting. And then she went in and said, "I've just met Stacey." So it was all going very well. Went in and read for them. And then it was going incredibly well until Ruth told me that I had to do a Cardiff accent like Nessa. And then that's when it all started going a bit wrong. And I say all about the behind the scenes stuff and attempting the Cardiff accent and then going back in to read with Matthew Horn and doing a Cardiff one, but going, "I'm going to talk very Welshy now and I'm going to do Stacey like this." And Ruth had to say to me, "Oh, Jo, can you just come outside for a moment?" So I went out and she said, "What on earth are you doing? Why are you talking like that?" I said, "I'm trying to do a Cardiff accent and I can't do it." And she said, "Oh, for goodness sake, just go back to doing what you were doing before. It's fine." And then I went in, started talking normally, read with Matt, and then that was it.
Yeah, because it's a subtle difference. People think South Wales is all the same.
I had to ask you earlier, didn't I?
We're Swansea.
Can you do Cardiff? Because I can't.
Cardiff, not really.
Cardiff.
No, people would be watching going, no, you
No,
can't.
yes, do not attempt the accent.
I can do it.
Go on,
Can't.
do it.
No, of course I can. Can you imagine?
Let's sit this one
But
out.
you are a huge Gavin and Stacey fan, aren't you, Richard?
I love Gavin and Stacey, and Jo knows that. I just think it's a programme that started so small and became the biggest show in Britain, and it became the biggest show in Britain through brilliant performances, brilliant writing, and having just genuine heart. It does everything right and did do for so many years, and you're such a big part of it. What a lovely thing to have been in the middle of, right?
Well, in the book, I talk all the behind-the-scenes stuff when we first started, and then all the way through when it did start out small, and then how it got bigger and bigger, and how we all felt about that, and when we be up for awards and things like that. And then later on in the book, I talk about when we meet up now for the finale, and how I started crying on the second day.
Well, that makes me cry.
Ridiculously emotional I was.
Well, as well as the BTS stuff, you do talk about your childhood as well, which is so lovely, and your love of just dressing up and just.
Oh,
there we go. Look.
Oh, that's with my Auntie Iris.
A day one cutie.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, because I used to go to my Auntie Iris's house in Mumbles, and she had this big cupboard on the top of the landing, and I'd open it up, and she used to do Amdram, and all these clothes would fall out, and she had this turquoise leather boa, this turquoise feather boa, and it was so sort of leather boa.
That was a different auntie.
That was, my Auntie Iris,
That was the auntie who lived in Cardiff.
Yes. And it was so soft and it was beautiful. And I used to dress up wearing that and be different, characters all day. And that's sort of how it all started.
Have you done the audiobook?
I have. And I tell you what,
You want to buy it straight away, right?
I did 11 to 12 chapters in one day.
Wow.
I came out and I'd lost the use of my head and the ability to speak. And when I was on my way home, I was in the car and I was trying to direct the taxi and I was going, "It's on the left down here." And he kept driving off and I was like, "No, my house is on the left." And he said, "That's the right." And I said, "I'm sorry, I can't talk anymore." I've been talking for hours.
Gosh, and we have to ask, because we trailed it at the start of this show, the story about how you met your current husband on David Copperfield.
Well, James doesn't even know if he's really in it, and there's a whole chapter dedicated to
Well, he does now.
James, you're in the book. And and so we were both in the costume drama David Copperfield, which was on, one Christmas. I was Doris Spenlow, he was Ham Peggotty. We didn't have any scenes together, and it came on TV, and I watched it and thought, "Oh my gosh, who is this man? He's wonderful." I said to my mum, "I want this man to be the father of my children." And then he watched it in Bradford and thought that I was this very, beautiful RP, girl with long, long blonde hair. And he said to his mum, "She's lovely. I'd love to be able to meet her, but she'd never look at me. I'm just some boy from Bradford." And then Maxine Peake, the actress, she phoned me up after a couple of months, and she was in the Cherry Orchard at the National, and she said, there's a fella here who says he's in love with you. And he was shouting, tell her it's Ham Peggotty. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's the actor that I really fancy off the TV. Took myself down to the National, watched him for 4 hours in the chair.